Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to be doing a full day review and wear test of the About Face The Performer foundation. So this has been out for about a month, but I did pick it up recently and I had some requests to do a full review. So this is the Performer foundation. This is currently available at Ulta Beauty. It retails for $22. It is not currently available in Canada yet, but if you are based in Canada, keep an eye on Shoppers Drug Mart online because I see that they've recently started carrying About Face as well. So I imagine it'll be up there soon, but for now this is only available at Ulta Beauty. And I picked up the shade F2 Cool. This shade is a little bit light for me, but I did find that it was really hard to shade match. So the details on this foundation, this is a buildable, breathable, medium coverage that delivers long-wearing second skin finish. Coverage meets skincare, and the skin optimizing foundation formulated with powerful ingredients like blue agave, wintergreen, and chlorella, known to help skin feel moisturized, balanced, and smooth. So that sounds great to me. So we are going to put this on the face today. I have worn this foundation a few times, so I am going to share a couple of the things that I've currently learned while I'm doing that, and then I will go about the rest of my day. I actually do have a pretty full day ahead, so I will be really putting this one to the test. So it is just like a square, I think it's a plastic bottle, and it does come with a doe foot applicator rather than a pump. It is a pretty large doe foot. I will say when it is a little bit tough to get out of the tube, so you want to be careful. I don't recommend pulling it out over top of your pants or anything like that. Definitely be over top of your table because occasionally you will get a little bit of a splatter. Just something I've learned. Let me zoom you in a little bit and then we will get to putting this on the face. So as with all of my foundation review and wear tests, I have only primed one side of my face because I like to see at the end of the day which side worked better. I typically expect the prime side to work better, but with some really amazing foundations, you can't really tell a difference. So we're just gonna do that. I have already primed this side, and I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm just gonna put this directly on my face. So like I said, I've been trying this for a little bit. So I am gonna go in with a sponge. This is my preferred method of application with this foundation. So I am starting with my sponge. This is my preferred method of application with this foundation. I find with the brush that it wasn't giving me as much of a seamless blend, which that can sometimes happen, but I just find the sponge looks the absolute nicest. I also found that this foundation doesn't behave well when I put it over top of my Tatcha Dewy Skin Cream and then try to blend it with the brush. I got a lot of pilling with that. I have still used my Tatcha today, but it's been maybe an hour, and I'm just applying with my sponge and it looks really nice. I actually meant to do a side-by-side with and without the foundation and completely forgot, but I think you can tell this gives a really nice medium coverage. You can see it's blending out very, very quickly, especially with the sponge. It's just evened out my skin really, really well, and it feels very, very comfortable. So I am noticing a patch right over here that seems to be pilling a little bit, which is really annoying. I think it is the Tatcha cream that's not getting along with this. Yeah, you can see I've got some pilling over here. So that's one thing I would definitely mention. Don't use this with the Tatcha cream if you can help it, although this side is fine and I've primed this side, so maybe that is a big part of it, is that if you do use the Tatcha cream, make sure you use a separate primer. So I do feel like this has really evened out my skin tone, given me a really nice base to work with. The only thing is that I feel like it's a little bit more on the lighter medium coverage. I feel like there are definitely foundations that give me a better medium coverage, but it does feel very lightweight and very comfortable on the skin. Just gonna add just a little bit. I do want to try going in with a brush again, just to see if I can build up that coverage a little bit. Okay, so I think the brush did allow me to get a little bit more coverage. This looks really, really nice. It feels very nice on the skin. It does have a slight tack to it, but it almost just feels more like a moisturizer as opposed to a foundation. It's absolutely not sticky at all. So Here's the foundation all done and blended out. I really am noticing the side that I did not prime is being a little bit more difficult. So that is the Tatcha cream. That's my favorite moisturizer though, especially for dry skin. But just know that it does not pair the best with this foundation. The side that I primed though seems to be acting as a bit of a buffer. So just keep that in mind. I am just gonna go in with concealer, and I'm just using the new Gucci concealer. It's a little bit bougie, but honestly, this shade range was hard to match as well. And this is the best match for when I'm using this foundation, which is a little bit light. So I am going to set both under eyes, but I'm only going to set the rest of my face on this side with a powder. So I am going into my Kosas powder to sort of set the perimeter of my face on this side. I'm just going in with sort of like a light dusting just to really lock that in a little bit more. And that feels really, really nice actually. That seems like a really good combination. So on the other side, I'm going in with the Givenchy Prism Libre powder. I picked this up during a recent haul as well, and the internet did not lie to me. This is a really, really good powder. So I'm just taking that powder on a puff, tap those under eyes out, and just powder this area here. This powder is definitely unreal under the eyes. It really does look like a filter, and it's not too much for my super dry skin. So that is foundation and concealer all done. This side, both under eyes are set, but only this side is powdered around the perimeter of the face. And I'm really liking the way things are looking. So I'm going to pop off camera, finish up the rest of my makeup, and I will be back to get the wear test started. Alright, so the rest of the makeup is on, and I'm really liking how everything is looking. I feel very pulled together. The foundation feels very lightweight on my skin, does not feel heavy at all. It really doesn't feel like I have anything on. Even touching this side of my face, that when I originally applied the foundation, I said it felt like a moisturizer. It still feels like it's dried down to a very, very skin-like finish. There's no tack to it whatsoever. I think both sides look equally nice, and I do think this gives a really nice lighter medium coverage. But we will see how this wears throughout the day. I am going to go about my day. I'm actually heading out to pick up some new kitchen countertops, which is both exciting and stressful at the same time. But I am headed out to do that right now, but I will be checking in at the very end of the day to give you an update and share my final thoughts and some comparisons. Alright, so we're now at the very end of the day, and it has been a long day. The foundation though is still looking pretty good. So I did my makeup at 8 o'clock this morning. It's now 6, so this has been 10 hours. And we're kind of about to get into another project, so I just wanted to finish this off before I forget. So let me zoom you in and try to show you what this is looking like so far. Okay, so right around my nose, it's really not looking so good. It's kind of starting to break up and settle and do some things I don't want it to do. I'm weirdly enough losing coverage on this side. I can see some of my breakouts and spots starting to poke through a little bit more prominently on this side. If you'll recall, this is the side I primed and powdered. This side I did not. So it's kind of surprising to me that this side is actually looking better, which is interesting. But overall, for 10 hours, this looks really, really good. I still have a lot of coverage. A lot of the makeup is still in place. It's still gripping onto my blush quite nicely. And overall, it's still looking pretty good. Again, I'm a little bit surprised that the primed side is not the one that performed better. So for 10 hours, I think the wear time is really good. It still looks really, really nice. For reference, I do have dry skin and I live in a colder climate. I was also moving around a lot today. We did a lot of things. So I really put this through the paces. So I'm overall quite happy with the wear time. I don't like how it wore around my nose, but for it to be doing that at the very end of the day, that doesn't really bother me so much. So let's chat about what foundations this reminded me of in my collection. So I find that overall this gives a really nice skin-like finish. It's not too glowy, it's not overly matte. It's definitely right in the middle. It's just very skin-like and pretty on the skin, and it gives a more lighter medium coverage. It's very, very comfortable. It feels like a moisturizer at first, but it does dry down to a more skin-like finish. The foundations that this reminded me of, first is the Too Faced Born This Way Healthy Glow Foundation. So the reason I pulled this one says it's glowy. It's not. It's definitely a lot more matte. But this also gives a really beautiful medium coverage. This has a very similar wear time and feels very similar in texture. This isn't a super, super liquidy foundation. There's definitely a very creamy element to it. And I noticed that exact same texture in this one as well. They have similar wear time, similar texture, and similar feel on the skin. Another foundation I don't need to powder. It just stays looking nice all day. I also pulled the Rose Inc Soft Light Skin Smoothing Foundation. So this one I really, really like. The only reason I don't rank this one really high is because it's very expensive. It's in the $70 price range in Canadian dollars, and I just don't think there's anything that justifies that price point. Especially now that we have this, because they look very similar on the skin. The Rose Inc does have a bit more of a glow to it, but they both dry down to a very beautiful skin-like finish with a light medium coverage. And again, to the touch, both feel a little bit more like skincare as opposed to a foundation. And the last one I pulled is the Revlon Skin Caring Foundation. So very, very similar. Once again, this one reminds me a lot of the Rose Inc. This one does have a bit more of a glow that this does not, but overall, all three of these comparisons dry down to a more skin-like finish and have that same sort of skincare type feel to the touch, and they all have a very similar wear time. So overall, I really, really like this. I just don't like that it doesn't pair well with my Tatcha. So going forward, I will either have to use a different moisturizer if I want to use this foundation, or I need to prime, because I found that that forms sort of a barrier between the moisturizer and the foundation and allowed me to not have any pilling, whereas putting this directly on top of the Tatcha even after an hour creates pilling, which has to be my biggest makeup pet peeve. So I just wanted to mention that. Otherwise, I think this is really, really beautiful. I think if you have dry skin, I think you'll really like this. Honestly, I think oilier skin types might enjoy this as well, because I think it's a very beautiful, very comfortable, very skin-like foundation. It's not super, super glowy. It's not super matte, but it really does look like skin and just gives you a healthy, hydrated skin type of look, and it just feels incredibly comfortable and very lightweight. So overall, I really like this, and I like the price point at $22. I think that's wonderful. I think it's worth it. The doe foot doesn't bother me either. So overall, I think this was a really good foundation day. I'm really happy with this purchase, thankfully. But that is it for me today. Let me know your thoughts on this foundation. Are you planning to pick this one up? Do you have any questions that maybe I didn't quite get to? Let me know. I love hearing from you guys so, so much. And if you're new here, I hope you'll consider subscribing before you go. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!